Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We are talking movies, and talking summer movies first, then we're moving into fall movies. We have with us film critic from the Nashville scene, just film critic in general, Jason Shawhan, with the Music City Film Critics Association. Jason, thank you for being here. All right,
Absolutely.
So I take down notes, as I said, when you come on. We talked about some summer movies, kind of set the table off the top, and Triple R, an Indian film that's on Netflix. I wrote that down. Talk about some other movies, 2 or 3, whatever stand out to you.
All right. Well, I got a few, and like some of them are like just across the board, and some of them are a bit more mainstream in their appeal, because I know sometimes I get a little weird with choices.
A little mainstream would be good. Yes, that's good.
As far as mainstream choices, like 2 of my surprise favorites. One was Elvis.
Okay.
Because that first trailer was a disaster, and I went into that press screening expecting a disaster, and that won me over. I mean, that's a heck of a performance. It's a Baz Luhrmann film, so it's like more everything, and
right.
I appreciate that. And it's a great series of performances. I mean, it does just such a real good job with like getting at the triumphs and tragedies of the life of Elvis Presley. And it's weird. Like, it's way weirder than you would expect, a big blockbuster biopic to be. So I'm absolutely all for that. And then also, as far as like mainstream choices go, and this just dropped on Hulu last week, it's a crime that it's not in theaters, but Prey, which is the latest film in the Predator series. It's a prequel set in 1719 in Comanche territory, where it's basically like a Native American tribe versus a predator, with like the laser weapons and the cloaking device and all of that. It's just, instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse the Body Ventura, it's a Comanche tribe, and it's great. It's delightful, in fact. Good monster, can't go wrong with a good monster, but it's a really tense action film. And it's really smart, and I just enjoyed the hell out of it.
That's so interesting. Why would it go on Hulu and not? Why wouldn't it get a wider release? There's so many people that don't have Hulu. I mean, why would it go just there?
The short version of why is because it was a Fox title, and then Disney bought Fox. And what they did when they bought Fox was they inherited several deals that Fox had made. So all of Fox's theatrical stuff was, when it went to streaming, would go to both Hulu and to HBO Max, and they kept that deal in place, but it only applied to things that were released in theaters. So basically, anything that Disney inherited from Fox that they just decided, oh well, we can just send that to streaming, then it just went to Hulu rather than having to split that revenue with HBO Max. That's the same thing that happened to Fire Island, which is another one of my favorites. It's a small scale, gay-themed remake of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It's delightful. It's really funny, and in theaters it would have been good counter programming, but instead they just sent it straight to streaming, and it's why Hulu has such an amazing bunch of films this year, is because Disney just decided, well, no, we're going to keep this in house and just send it to Hulu, rather than put it out in theaters and then split it with HBO Max.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. Now, do you want to throw out some? What else do you want to throw out from the summer? Because then we're going to move on to the fall. What else do you want to throw out?
2 big ones this summer: Crimes of the Future. A new David Cronenberg film is always worthy of discussion, and I love it because it's like kinky science fiction, but it's also the first film that I've ever seen made about the future that had like genuine optimism to it. Like, it's hopeful in a really weird and depraved sci-fi way, and I found that very refreshing. It's also just a bunch of great performances. It's really good. It's out on It just came out on Blu-ray this week, but it's great. I mean, Viggo Mortensen, Kristen Stewart. It's really, really good and really, really gross in a good way. And then the other film that I have to mention that was sort of the art house success of the year that even crossed over to mainstream theaters was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Because that was just so imaginative. I mean, it was a science fiction multiverse movie that I felt totally cool sending my mom to see. I was just like, yeah, no, I mean, even though it had some risque content, but its heart is so focused on like repairing like the damage that modern life does to families and friendships, and just wonderful. Hopefully, Michelle Yeoh will be remembered when award season rolls around.
And where would you find that?
brings-
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Where is that?
I believe it's out on home video now, and I think it's streaming. I don't know exactly where. I'll find out on the next break, and then I'll let you know.
All right, great.
But it's great. It's absolutely wonderful.
Now we have a call. We have a call here. I want to take a call. Then we'll, if you want to say more summer, you can, or we'll move on to fall. But let's quickly go to this call. Hello, Gertrude.
Yes.
Gertrude.
Hey, y'all. Listen, I want to comment on what you said earlier, Mr. Shawhan, or is it Shawhan?
It's Sean. It's just
I don't know how to pronounce your name.
I may have messed up his name. It's Sean.
Okay, you did mess it up, Mr. Hall, but I'll let you go on that one. English is a challenge for me to begin with.
Right.
Listen, your comment about, these movies not being released and written off as tax write-offs, I agree with you wholly. I wish they would sell them somehow or another so we can see people's movies and what they put into their work. But anyway,
Absolutely.
Listen, I haven't been to the movies since August of 2019. And my only movie of the summer, because I'm afraid of COVID cooties and I couldn't find a full body condom, was the movie Where the Crawdads Sang. I haven't read the book. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but I heard an interview or a book review on NPR years ago, and I've been waiting for that to come out. And the movie I wanted to see was a documentary on George Michael, but my probation officer won't let me go out after 7 o'clock at night. But what I want to know is, what can you tell me about the documentary Hallelujah, about Leonard Cohen? I'll hang up and take your comments offline.
Thank you, Gertrude.
All right, yeah. Well, it's that George Michael documentary is great, and that's going to be streaming. I want to think it's Paramount Plus, but they've got a streaming deal in place for that, and it'll be on DVD sometime this year, and it's really, really good. Where the Crawdads Sing, I haven't seen that, but my mom did, and she enjoyed it. She likes a good mystery of that sort, and people have been responding to that. That's another one that, like Top Gun, there were people who hadn't been to the movies all pandemic, who came to the theater specifically to see that. So never underestimate the ability of a beloved book to get an audience in theaters. But as for your question about the Leonard Cohen documentary, it's interesting. There's already been a couple of documentaries about him. There was one about him and his longtime lady Marianne. There was a concert one called, I believe it was I'm Your Man, that was it was sort of him and other artists who were influenced by him performing his songs. Well, this new one is specifically about the song Hallelujah and how it developed, over the course of time. Because of Shrek, it became a phenomenon that even kids know that song. So it's an interesting biography of his life, but it's specifically filtered through the development of that song, which is interesting. And I find it, I haven't seen it yet, but I find Leonard Cohen a fascinating dude. And I'm very interested in that. And you literally could make a documentary about a different facet of his life every year. His writings, his books were insane. And I personally, the one that I want to see, I would love for them to make a documentary about his album Death of a Ladies' Man, which is the one he recorded with Phil Spector, where Ronnie Blakely from the movie Nashville did all the background vocals on it, and Phil pulled a gun on him at some point, so Leonard walked and didn't finish his vocal sessions. So it's if you listen to the album, it sounds very weird and very fraught, but it's great. And I'm there's a whole documentary's worth of story there. But yeah, no, it's he's a fascinating guy, and that documentary, people are really responding to it. And it's when you have a work of art like that song, that's, people are going to respond to that, but also putting it in the historical context of one of the most interesting talents, performers, writers of the 20th century doing it. So yeah, it's and I have no doubt that it'll probably end up on PBS as sort of when Pledge Week rolls around. I guarantee you, you'll see that there.
All right, Jason. Thank you. All right, we're gonna take a break. Then we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the fall. So the movie's coming up, and I think we have movie posters for this part. This will be fun. All right, we'll take a break. Be back right after this.